Regina, would you like to continue on with filling us in about what the law actually says?
Well, remember, I'm just over the freshman, so it was my first term as a state rep at the election law, so I'm not as fluent as I will be hopefully next time. But the laws specifically, and I've got the RSA here, and it pretty much mirrors what the Constitution says, that every inhabitant of the state having a single established domicile for voting purposes, being a citizen of the United States of the age provided for in Article 11 of Part 1st of the Constitution of New Hampshire, shall have the right at any meeting or election to vote in the town, ward, or unincorporated place where he or she is domiciled. An inhabitant's domicile for voting purposes is one place where a person more than any other place has established a physical presence and manifests an intent to maintain a single continuous presence for domestic, social, and civil purposes relevant to participating in a democratic self-government. So, and you can change your domicile at any time. Now, we did put in the Senate put in, I believe it was SB 318, and what changed with this particular, this law was changed in 2008, which basically opens the availability of anyone who, whether temporarily or permanently lives in this state, is allowed to vote in this state, is my impression. It was changed to that in 2008. Prior to that, the very last sentence, a person's claim of domicile for voting purposes shall not be conclusive of the person's residence for any other legal purpose. So that opened it up to, as what I was told, or what I was coached on at the at some of the meetings that we had on this bill. Was that actually is what opened it up to pretty much anyone who has a claim of domicile, whether they plan on staying in the state or not, has a right to vote. And now this was changed in 2008. Prior to that, that sentence wasn't there. So there was a bit more control over who was considered domicile. And what happened with 318 was it passed the House, it passed the Senate, the governor overrode it, the House overrode the governor's veto, the Senate overrode the governor's veto. And while we were voting on these, and we passed the voter ID bill, as you know, I expected them to take the voter ID bill to court. And when I heard that the domicile bill was going to court, red flag went up right then and there. And what happened is they took it to court. They shopped around to find a judge that they felt would change it. The Secretary of State and then he did. He claimed it unconstitutional, and then they tried to bump it up to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court decided not to take it till after the election. Now, once the Secretary of State, from my understanding, was very concerned. He supported this bill to bring it back to the 2008, and he approached, or he helped write this bill. Or he had his input in it. So he was very upset when, first of all, that the Attorney General did not defend it appropriately. So, and there were a couple of reasons why I think that he didn't. The Attorney General, it should not, from my understanding, it should not have been taken to court in Stratford County. It should have been taken to court in Merrimack County, because the students from my understanding, the students went to school in Merrimack. So that was one of the reasons. And then the Secretary was very concerned because he said that there are people who are here temporarily, whether they work on election campaigns or are here let's say what we call TDY, temporary duty for companies who do vote in this state, even though they're temporarily here. And he felt that this law would have taken care of, SB 318 would have taken care of these issues. So he was very upset, and he actually did go up against the John Lewis, who was the judge, and explained his version of why he felt. And then I believe that's when the judge bumped it up to the Supreme Court. And Judge Lewis did say that he had overstepped his boundaries by requiring the Secretary of State to post information on his website. So they pulled that information off, but the damage was done. So what the status is of the bill, I'm not sure. I guess the Supreme Court is still waiting. They've got other issues they're dealing with right now. So, and I imagine at some point it's going to come back up.
Is it okay to question?
We're going to do
Okay.
questions out at the end, if that's okay. So hold your questions for now. It's going to make notes. So thank you, Regina. That was very thorough and helps explain a lot of the process of what happened.
Croc TV.